Hi, I'm David Humphreys and this is part 4 of my tutorial on location due diligence, and as I said at the beginning of parts 1, 2 and 3, this tutorial is both unscripted and also live, so I apologize for the ums, ahs, buts and so forth in the tutorial. Okay, part 4 is going to look at Rightmove and Google and how we define locations and neighbourhoods. So I'm going to go off and get the Rightmove website. Okay, here we are on Rightmove, and I want to find out what Rightmove thinks Oxford is. OXFORD. One of the reasons for using Rightmove is that it is a very useful search engine or search facility portal site, and so my research tends to tie in with what I can find out on Rightmove. So I'm going to say for sale, and the purpose of this is simply to find out what Rightmove thinks Oxford is. Okay, so I'm going to look for other properties only because I don't want the map, which I'm going to show you, populated by loads of properties. So I'm looking for other properties. I've come up with a garage in North Oxford, but I want to find out what Rightmove thinks Oxford is. So I'm putting properties on map. Here is what Rightmove considers the location of Oxford to be, and as you can see, and this goes back to part 1 or part 2, part 1 I think it was. Now, one of the dangers of doing unscripted live recordings is you get interrupted, as I have just been interrupted, so let me try and pick this up again. As I said, this is the location of Oxford from Rightmove's point of view, and this is just way too big a location to think about with regard to investment purposes. But in any event, if we go round this location, Ellsfield, Stanton St John out here, these people living out there just do not think that they live in Oxford. They live out of Oxford, they live in the country. Horsebath is not really Oxford. Blackbird Leys might consider themselves to be in Oxford. Boars Hill certainly doesn't, yet that is shown as being in Oxford. Harcourt Hill, hardly in Oxford. Wolvergate possibly. So as you can see, it's just too big an area, and this comes from local knowledge, obviously. I mean, I know this area like the back of my hand. I was brought up, in fact I can show you where I was brought up, just out there, Southmore. Kingston Bagpues isn't on the map, but just around here is where I spent my childhood. So I know the area very well, and now Oxford, as far as people in Oxford is concerned, at best Oxford is inside the ring road. So this is the ring road going round Oxford. Okay, it's inside that ring road at best. Okay, Blackbird Leys is borderline. Kennington possibly is borderline, but broadly speaking, inside the ring road, most people would regard as being Oxford. Now, that is still far too big a location, or to be defined as a location. Huge variation in housing, huge variation in housing demand. The predominantly student area is in this area. It's not up in the North Oxford area. This is where the hospitals are, the JR2. So there's a big demand around here for hospital housing. That hospital housing, the demand that exists there doesn't exist across in North Hinksey, because it's the other side of Oxford. I mean, to get from North Hinksey to Headington, you've got to either go around the ring road, which is about 12 miles, or across Oxford itself, which is murder. Oxford is not traffic friendly. Not traffic friendly at all. So it's too big an area to think about as being a location. We have to define a location inside the city as being a location. And the location that I've set up as to look at in this tutorial is a North Oxford location, which runs from about this area here, the A34 in the north, down these two roads. This road coming down here and this road coming down here, picking up Wolvercote and stopping at this point where it says Summertown. Actually that label should be a bit further north, but stopping at this point, which has a major main road or main artery inside the ring road going across to Marston and the hospitals. So that's my version of North Oxford, and that would be, broadly speaking, acceptable as a location by most people who knew the area. Now this little flag here, this property here, is pretty close to the centre of my North Oxford location. So what I'm going to do is click on it, and that'll open up the property. I was looking for a postcode. I'm going to go off and find a postcode so I can zero in on this particular area. Now what I've done is I've zoomed in onto North Oxford. Okay, if you remember Summertown on the map I showed you, here's Summertown, here's Wolvercote, and this is the A34 going north. Okay, and Rightmove has a fantastic facility called Draw a Search, and you're able to define the location that you want to search properties in. And remember, we are talking about locations at the moment and not neighbourhoods. Within this location of North Oxford there are 5-6 neighbourhoods, but let me show you how I draw a search based on this location. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off about here, come across out, this is meadowland, this is river, there's a river going through, so these are river meadows which in fact flood every winter. Come down to this arterial road here, the B4495, the Marston Ferry Road, and then go back up the Woodstock Road and then go pick up Wolvercote. Let me show you how I do it. So I click on Draw a Search, and do remember this is live, so if I make a mistake I apologise now. As you can see, I've done numbers of searches here, saved searches. Okay, and I've got this little star that you can see, and I put this on the map and click. Now I want to start off, this is a golf course here, I want to start off just north of the golf course, so I'm going to put it click there, bingo, and then I pull across to a point here, and then I come down through the river to there. I then go across here. I can see a road there, by the way, which I want to pick up on, and I want to come down south of the road and then go back across to this point on the Woodstock Road. Okay, so then I want to go back up the Woodstock Road. In fact, I'll go across to here and then follow, it is in fact a canal. You're going to go in straight lines, by the way. So you do straight lines, then go across and pick up Wolvercote, and then back up another, well this is a river, this is a river in fact, back up a river, and then you basically break across to pick up that point there again. Okay, and then you name your saved area, which I will call North Oxford. And I put tut in for tutorial. ORIAL. I'll make it in full. Okay, because I've got it. I already have a North Oxford saved area. So I save the area, and that is an area saved in Draw a Search in Rightmove. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry, you have to join Rightmove first. Up here, you need to go and join Rightmove, and which is free. You haven't got to pay for it. It's free. You join Rightmove, register on Rightmove, and then this facility is available to you, and they will store your searches. Okay, so what we're able to do now within this location is to view properties. So if I click on here, view properties, there's that one property which was already in the location. But assuming I wanted to go and view houses, I can do that. So let's say I'm going to view houses with 4 bedrooms, maximum 4 bedrooms as well. Price-wise, I want anything from, let's say, £200,000 to £250,000, and I always put sold, include sold subject to contract in, update results, and it will report. Oh, no properties, sorry. You can tell this is live, can't you? Let's go up to £350,000, see what happens then. Right, two properties in this location. North Oxford is an expensive area. If I was to stick £500,000 in to £750,000, I'd probably, or £700,000, I'd see a few more properties. There you go. Anyway, I'm not trying to show you what to look for, but as you can see, North Oxford is an expensive area. But as you can see, these properties are solely in the locations that you have drawn, and this is why it's so important that you get the boundaries of the location correct. You don't want to miss out part of a street or whatever. I'm going to show you a village location in a minute, and there it's quite interesting what Rightmove thinks is the village and the roads it misses out on. But in any event, this is a location. This is drawing a location, and you can draw as many locations as you want, but you can zero in on quite a tight area. And my location due diligence report is written about this location and the housing that's within it. Okay, so just put it on pause for a minute. Okay, I'm back with you again. Now, let's have a look at this location. I'm going to try and make it a fraction bigger. Right, I can move this map around. And now I'm going to talk about breaking this location down into neighbourhoods. And as I said earlier in the tutorial, most neighbourhoods have natural boundaries. One point I want to show you before we go any further is this line coming down here. Okay, it's quite clear I've got no housing across that boundary. I've got no housing at all on this northern boundary. But coming down this boundary, I could have taken this across and come down here for safety. Just trying to be a bit more neat about it. Coming down here, no housing, no housing. But I turned and look, I've just missed, if you can see it, here's a street. It's in fact called Lonsdale Road. Here's a street which ends at this point there, and I've got the outside of it. If I came down and crossed that street, or cut through that street, in my search, what was outside the location map would not show up. And likewise, you won't be able to see this on the map, but likewise, there is a close here, just inside the southern boundary. I've picked up the whole of Morton Road and taken it across here. So I've picked up this little area here where there's a house. There you go, £700,000, expensive. That's a new development, by the way, 4-bedroom townhouse. And then followed the canal up and then cut across into Wolvercote. But let's look at the creation now on the overall map of the neighbourhoods. And I'll show you what I'm doing with regard to neighbourhoods. The first neighbourhood is this neighbourhood here. And the reason why I've got a neighbourhood here called Cutslow, that's its local name, is that we've got a northern boundary which is open land. It's farmland, in fact, it's farmland. We then got a eastern boundary, which is in fact a park. This is a very, very popular park area. There's no development out there at all. We've then got a southern boundary, which is the A40, and this is a dual carriageway. It's a dual carriageway ring road, part of the ring road round Oxford. And if you lived in a street just to the north of the dual carriageway and lived in another street just to the south, and these two houses could be, I don't know, 100 miles apart, 100 yards apart. You would not necessarily know that neighbour. But if you lived in a house just to the north of the A40, and 100 yards away there was another house to the north or to the west or east, you possibly could know the neighbour. I mean, they're within walking distance. They're within 2 minutes, 3 minutes walk. So the probability is you'd know the neighbour. But this is a natural boundary, as is this road here, which is the main Banbury Road into Oxford. Now, this is less of an obstacle, because if you did live on one side of it, you could walk over the road, cross over the road to neighbours on the other side. But it's still a relatively natural boundary. So I classify neighbourhoods as being areas which are bounded by natural boundaries. And this is one neighbourhood in North Oxford. Then I have a second neighbourhood, which is this neighbourhood here, which is bounded again to the north. There is open land and a golf course. You've got this main road coming in. You've got the A40 again on the south side, and this is another dual carriageway. Yes, another dual carriageway linking the Oxford Ring Road to the A34, which is a very busy road. And these are both commuter roads into Oxford, morning and evening. Okay, so that creates another boundary. And certainly here, housing to the north of the A40 and to the south of the A40, they probably would never know each other. Then another, just to move this map, another sort of natural neighbourhood is this neighbourhood here. A40 to the north, then open land and river meadows to the east, open land and river meadows to the south, and then this main road, this main arterial road going back up through Oxford. So all this becomes another neighbourhood, and this is bounded by main roads. So this becomes a central neighbourhood. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 neighbourhoods in this location. In fact, I think I end up with 6. I'm going to move this across because the next neighbourhood, sorry, my mistake, this central neighbourhood, which also includes this area, north of this road, this rail line, north of the A40 here is underground. South, it's above ground. It tunnels through there. So because this rail line is a natural barrier, so into this neighbourhood here, I'm going to include these streets and also these streets down here. Okay, there's nothing here at the moment, although that may be redeveloped. This area could become another neighbourhood in time, but at the moment there are not enough housing in it. Okay, and then my last neighbourhood is the neighbourhood here, which is this area here, which, as I can tell you now, is mostly ex-local authority, and then the village of Wolvercote. And the natural boundaries are the rail line here, then we've got the canal going north, we go over the bridges over the canal and over the rail line and pick up the village of Wolvercote here, which is too small an area to be a location in its own right, so I've made it a neighbourhood as part of North Oxford, and then we come, and that's it. So that makes another neighbourhood here. So there's 5 in all. There's the Cutslow neighbourhood, then there's this area here, then this is, which I call this one North East Oxford, North Central Oxford, and then the Wolvercote one on the west side. Can't remember what I called this one now, but those are my 5 neighbourhoods in North Oxford, and they all have natural boundaries, and most people who live in those areas would associate that they would understand my concept of neighbourhood when applied to the area that they live in. They would agree with me. This is why I said right at the beginning that we had great difficulty trying to define a location as being a meaningful area to talk about from investment points of view. But the moment that we got into the concept of neighbourhoods, it became much easier. Right, well that's the end of another 20 minutes, so I'm going to shut down this part of the tutorial, and then we'll come back in part 5, as it is, part 5, and look at how we design a neighbourhood, and also how we draw a neighbourhood rather, and also how we involve Google, because Google has a fantastic facility in its ability to be able to go and look at the streets, which you can't do in Rightmove. Okay, so this is David Humphreys signing off. Again, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you found it worthwhile, and I look forward to seeing you in part 5 of this tutorial on location due diligence.